series, we're talking about creating texts and dealing with text in a comic book. So let's get started, shall we? Let's start talking about comics and more importantly, the text used. So what problems are we going to have? Well, historically, text was done manually using an aimed letter guide and usually a specified person called letterer. They do look cool, but they are time consuming. This is sort of rapidly disappearing into the history hole, and now people are usually inking and lettering their own work themselves, and they're doing it digitally, which gives us a lot of freely available fonts that we can use to make these comics. We've also got opportunities and mechanisms to make our own fonts, so we can make our own font of our own handwriting, make a font from it, and make something that looks passable. The other thing we need to consider when we're putting text into a panel is that it's very possible that you can create problems for yourself if you're not considering your balloon placement and what's in the actual panel when you're drawing the comic. 2000 AD will recommend you leave the top 25% of a panel clear to put speech balloons in. Why? I mean, the thing is, if you change what's shown in the panel, you've now got the problem of rearranging the speech balloons on that panel, and also checking how it works in relation to the rest of the page. So we kind of need a more holistic approach. In any case, your script is most likely going to be a digital text file. So when it comes to putting the text on the page, can we not just copy the text straight onto the page? Okay, so we're going to use a font and we're going to make our comic text. Big deal. So what? Well, actually, there's a lot of things that can issues that can arise. We spend more time sort of quality controlling the text, and the things that can trip us up are, well, for example, simple typos like the one at the top of the page there. Does anyone see it? Okay, let's just fix that, shall we? There we go. Okay, what's next? Well, regional variations of grammar, and this is something I encountered on the 100s. I'm not used to putting a period after like Mr. I don't know if that's a regional thing or if I was just poorly educated. I suspect it's a bit of both. What else have we got? Rewriting dialogue, and this is a thing where you've got it on the script, you put it onto the speech balloon, and if you're the writer as well as the artist, you often will think, oh, I can tweak this, trim a bit of fat from this bubble and make it more efficient. The problem is, this can also reintroduce typos. Like this one here. Let's just fix that one. There we go. Alright. So, here's our big problem. And this is the major problem when we're putting text into an art package. Text, when entered into an art package, will sometimes just become rasterized, and if you want to edit the text, you need to open the file in the software that you made the text in. Now, GIMP and Photoshop both read PSD files. It's a really good example of what we would call an interchange format. It allows you to migrate data from Photoshop into GIMP and GIMP into Photoshop. But any text that you enter into Photoshop is rasterized when loading, and the same filing when loading that same file in GIMP, and the inverse is true. So if you are working on, say, one machine, putting text down, and then you go to a different machine and you need to edit it, you better have the same art package across the board, else you're going to have all manner of problems. So what solutions can we implement? Well, if we split the text off into an external file, and if our art package reads that external file and then populates the text fields at load time, then suddenly text editing becomes way more flexible. We can fix typos on the page without having to load the page. We can rename characters across multiple pages using like a search and replace function. And then more importantly, we can localize our comics for different territories. And what way we can do that is using something called referencing. Whoops. Okay, so in this example, the text in the comic page with the pink border is being read from an external file. So any changes that we make to the external file will automatically propagate onto the compiled page. Okay. Well, here's the interesting thing. Krita has got SVG support. This is useful. It's an open source format. It's implemented in lots of programs like Photoshop. It's been around for a long time. There's no real possibility of the format or the standard suddenly disappearing from public domain. So we're not going to get in a situation where we're using a piece of software and suddenly we're going to be held ransom like Adobe have done with Photoshop. It's vector based, so text will always be pin sharp, and more importantly, the structure is based on XML. So it's really easy to read. You could open up the contents of an SVG file and read it like you would any normal document. So here's the question: if Krita supports SVG files, can we put an SVG file into Krita, edit it externally, and see if it updates? Let's find out. Okay, so we're in Inkscape at the moment. This is what an Inkscape looks like. I've put some text down. Text is editable, and one of the things you can do with Inkscape is you can put text on a path. So here's some text on a path, and let me show you the path. We can tweak the path around and the text moves on the path, so we can do all kinds of fun stuff with it. So I'm just going to tweak that so it's a bit nicer. There we go. That'll do. Let's just save that file. Let's close the file. Right. Okay. So this is from the Urbex story I've just finished. And as you can see, I've got inks, colour, and I've also got my pencils here. So what I've done is I've exported out this image as a PNG and used that as a template, so that in Inkscape I can open, it's that one, I can create a set of set of balloons, set of gutters, and a background image, right? Great. Save this as a SVG file. Now we should be able to just drag this into Krita, and we should be able to tweak. Hopefully we should be able to tweak this, and that should update. Let's find out if that's going to work for us. So bear with me. That's the one. Let's just drag this in. Right. Well, I think we've got a problem. Speech balloons look to be in the right place, but the text is the wrong size. And this is the problem I had. And I think it's to do with either dots per inch or units used. Yet to be determined. However, let's not get downhearted. I seem to recall reading up about KRA files recently, where they mentioned that essentially it is basically a zip file and that everything is stored within it. So let's have a look. Where is it? Here it is. So let's have a look at it, see if I can open it with Archive Manager. Alright, let's try. Hang on a second, I've got it open, maybe that's a problem. Okay, so we'll just close the file. Nope. Will that work? Nope. Okay. So let's be sneaky. Let's rename it as zip, and let's have a look at it. Hopefully, oh, will you look at that? Okay, so we've got some document info. There's a main doc, which I'm assuming is going to be the structure of the layers. A merged image, which I wonder what that is. Let's have a look at that. The current visible layers, I think. Okay. Preview. Nice little preview window. That's cool. Document info XML. Let's have a look. Looks like it was when it was last edited. Okay, some meta information. Let's look in this unnamed folder. Layers. Yes, look, shape layers, and oh, you look at that. Let's just see if I can open that with Inkscape. Huh, look at you. Oh, that's exciting. That's really exciting. Let's just have a look. Okay, this is great. It looks like it's missing a font in a couple of these things, but that's amazing. That's great. Look at that. Okay, well, this is very encouraging. What else have we got here? Huh. Oh, look, ICCs. So it looks like Krita will store the color profiles per layer. That's useful to know. Well, we've learnt an awful lot here. Right, let's get back to the presentation. Alright, so in real terms, what have we learnt? Well, it looks like the SVG file is actually stored internally in the KIA file. So we could just access it and edit it from there. However, as you've seen, there's been a fair bit of editing on the file just to get to the SVG file. So why don't we just simply edit the text manually in Krita? That's what it's there for, right? Well, you still have to have Krita on the machine that you're working on, and you have to load each page into Krita, perform the operations, and you're manually making changes on the number of pages, and we're reintroducing this idea of creating typos. So we edit the page at SVG level, right? Problem solved, right? Kind of. I mean, okay, we have to. There's a bit of a rigmarole just to get to the SVG file, but imagine we could bypass that. Even if we could just get to the SVG file to edit the page, we've still got some limitations. There's a fair amount of editing just to get to the file, right? It can become cumbersome when you're doing the same edit on the numerous pages. I mean, it took us a couple of minutes to get one page set up. Imagine we had 100 pages, 1,000 pages. It doesn't scale very well, so we need a different solution for that. And ideally, if we're editing lots of pages at once, instead of having one page to control an SVG file, what we actually want is a piece of something, a way to control all the SVGs in all the KRI files at once. Like, I don't know, some kind of one ring to rule them all. Okay, so how does this work in practice? Well, in practice, what I'm proposing to do is to create a piece of software that creates a series or a collection of Krita pages, and then allows you to work both individually on an individual page by retrieving the text elements from a page, giving you drop-down lists and allowing you to individually edit a text element, but also giving you the option to perform large global operations across a number of pages, say 50 or 60 or a whole book's worth. So what would that look like? It would look like this. We'd be using batch processing to do this. So the software knows to access a page, perform a series of operations, write the data back out to the Krita file, and move on to the next file. and the next file until it's processed all the files. It then tells us it's done it, and then it's done. We can either write a second function if you want to actually get to flatten and save the file as a new target, like a target or a TIFF or PNG or whatever you want, or to keep it as is. And that's it. That's what we're looking at the moment. I'm looking to get this started very soon. I'm looking to move on this really quickly. So yeah, there we go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and I'm glad you're still awake, and we'll speak again soon. Alright, bye now.